Hey, what's up, dudes and girls? DIY Duke here. It's been a while, but I'm excited to be back in good form to work on a new Buff Dudes video. So I'm currently waiting for the suctional vortex delivery system to get me my next project. You can hear it coming before it actually gets here. Hey, Neil's here. Check it out, LANDMINE press. So let's look at the material list and see how we're going to build this thing. Some of this stuff we're going to find just locally right outside over by the shop, but some of these other things we're going to have to pick up at one of my favorite places of all time, a wrecking yard. Then we're going to start putting this together. There's going to be some cutting, there's going to be some welding, and there's going to be some painting.
This is kind of like DIY Duke's hangout. This is the place that he kind of likes to go to meditate, to find himself, to contemplate life, things like that.
In fact, that's where I stay overnight, in that little building.
That looks comfy.
I ain't flipping that time. Here's our list. You always got to have a list, because if you don't, you'll forget what you need and then not get what you want. It ain't what you want, but it's what you need. We're going to use a sawzall, a drill, a welder, oxy-acetylene torch, which is optional because you can refer back to that sawzall, or a bandsaw if you have one, a drill press if you have one. If you don't, we're going to refer back to the drill. We're going to need a grinder to clean up all that steel, and don't forget your personal protection equipment, PPE. A tape measure, a square, and a soapstone or something to mark that steel where you can make your cuts. So let's put this thing together. So really simple. We need a 90-degree angle because that thing is going to fit in a room, and the room, of course, the walls go like this, but that's going to fit into the wall like that, which is a total of 12 by 19. We're going to square it off here and center this. One other step we're going to have to make, which is an additional tool if you torch, is a grinder. So we're going to grind all those edges and round them too so there's no pointy edges on it. We're going to have some pipe here. That main piece of pipe where the barbell is going to fit into is 12 inches long and 2 inches inside diameter. That's going to be room for the end of the barbell to fit in there. Then that's going to be welded to a piece of flat steel, which is 2 3/4 by 2 3/4, which is then going to be welded to this pipe, which is 1 3/4 by 3 inches. Let's get cutting. Things weld a lot better to non-rusted surfaces. So we're going to grind that off so it's really fresh, so the weld will be a lot stronger. That's hot. Additionally, a piece of channel that's 4 inches wide by 2 1/4 inches tall by 2 inches deep. That will have a pipe inside of it that is 3 1/4 inches long by 1 3/8 inch inside diameter. That's going to create those pivot points that we're going to need. So we couldn't find any channel. We're going to make some channel with the square tubing. We're going to cut it here after we cut it here. There we go. That flat iron is going to be welded to the foundation, that plate steel. Those are going to be 4 inches tall by 1 1/2 inches wide. That will be where the main pivot is. 5-inch long by 1/2 inch in diameter bolts. We're going to be using 8 washers and 2 nuts to tie that in all together. Sweet rock. And last but not least, if you want a handle, we're going to use some round stock for that. In this case, we just got an old U-bolt out of the wrecking yard and then cut it off and welded it to it. Makes a nice handle to lift that thing around. There it is. So we spent half a day getting the materials, and as you can see, the rest of the day putting all this stuff together, including cutting, welding, drilling, assembling. So this part, the rest we're going to assemble now. So that being said, let's put this thing together. I want to mention too, our handle is welded and our straps here are welded. So we're going to go ahead and assemble this. Small pipe here, welded to the channel. Washers are welded here so they stay together and they center that bolt. Here we have the holes drilled. So let's go ahead and put the bolt through. Now, as you probably already figured, all the weight from whatever you're going to put on your barbell is going to be on this pivot point. This is kind of a secondary pivot point, but this will take the brunt of the weight. So that's a nice 3/4 size bolt. You don't even have to go that thick. We did because, hey, we're buff dudes. Put this in here. Now I've also welded washers here. And just as a spacer, so this pivot's good, we're going to put a washer there, and there's a washer on this, in this case, is a 1/2 inch bolt. You can go larger too if you want. But a 1/2 inch is going to be plenty strong enough. Later you can tighten that. It'll be good to get lock nuts on these too. But there you go. It's going to go this way. This is going to go this way. So we're ready to paint this thing. Before we paint it, we're going to go ahead and clean some of this residual grease and welding spatter and stuff like that off, so I'll make a good basis for the Buff Dude Blue. I'm just going to use brake cleaner. Just kind of spray that. Oil, we don't want any of that on there, so the paint sticks nice and good. We're going to put a little primer on here. Buff dudes, I am your father.
Alright, now that DIY Duke's done all the hard work, it's time for me to take this for a test drive.
Yeah.
It's a perfect fit.
Nice.
So exercise number 1 is going to be the farmer squat. Obviously you're going to be pulling up here to this position, and you're going to kind of step back a little bit. Your feet are going to be a little bit wider than hip width, and you can be pushing the hips back just like a normal squat. And once you get down to this position here, you can tell you get a nice bit of hip action. So you're going to be pulling your hips back, deep squat, and then slightly thrusting forward to get a lot of activation in the gluteus maximus, getting into the quads, a little bit in the hamstrings, because you feel damn good. A lot of core activation too to stabilize that. And since you're holding the weight too, your arms are going to be activated, your shoulders, a little bit in the tricep, and there you go. So exercise number 2 is going to be the T-bar row. So just going to kind of step up here, nice wide stance. Now you can get a V grip kind of put on there. You can either do a towel as well if you don't have a V grip, or you can just have your hands here. It's kind of grab here, get in this position, and row straight up. Now, as you can tell, the range of motion isn't that far as you're rowing, so you can put some 25-pound plates on there. A little bit farther range of motion, kind of take it right to the sternum, but you want to get a nice, sturdy, and stable position in the core, in the back. Nice tense in there, and bring those elbows up, get a nice squeeze. Pretty simple. Just stepping up the bar here, you're gonna go ahead and get on your knees. As you can tell, you're gonna be fairly close to the edge of the barbell, and you can pull it up to the top position, which is going to be right at the clavicle here. Be gripping the end of the barbell with your hands and just going to be pressing straight up. Elbows pretty close. Nice rigid, tensed core, straight back. This position, you're going to start with the shoulders back or more retracted and depressed, and then as you press upward, you're going to get that kind of full extension, and you're going to slightly elevate your shoulders there to help to get not only the chest but a little bit in the shoulders too. So it's a really nice exercise. So the clavicular portion of the chest here, it's a little bit more difficult to build. There's less fibers located in the top portion of the chest as it is in the lower, so you really want to pay close attention on doing these kind of exercises to help build that upper chest. Exercise number 4 is just going to be the press. Now, light the weight, as you can tell, just that way. It'll be pretty easy. Just for the instructional purposes, this is going to be a one-arm press here. In the standing position, get a really wide stance, so that really increases the base support here. And just going to be pressing straight up, right through the shoulder, just like so. Keep the elbow pretty tight in the beginning position, and as you press, you can not only elevate slightly in the shoulder, but the elbow is going to flare just a little bit as it kind of goes through that pressing motion there. And then at that top position, you're going to reach, you're going to be here, everything nice and tense, stable, bring it down, and this is a unilateral exercise, so once you get done with one side, you're going to start with the next. The good thing about a unilateral exercise like this is that if you're dealing with any asymmetrical problems in the body, specifically in this case, the shoulder, you'll be able to kind of key in on that and help fix it. And with this, really recommend starting with the side that is kind of lagging behind, or in my case, my right side is the dominant side, so it tends to run a little bit bigger. My bicep, my shoulder is a bit stronger. So start with your least dominant side, or weaker side. In this case, my shoulder would be my left side here. You're going to start with the left and then immediately go on to the right, and then once you get done with the right, you can go on to the left. So in this position, start with the left, go through the pressing motions, go whatever rep range that your program that you're following is kind of keying in on and says, and then once you get done with that, switch to the right, finish up with the right, and then go right back to the left, your weaker side, and bang out a few more repetitions. And then over time, as you do that, if you keep that up and you're consistent with it, your left side or your weaker side, depending on what it is gonna, get a little bit stronger and catch up with your dominant side. Number 5 on the buff dude's top 5 landmine exercises is gonna be the landmine 180s. Now, this is one of Duke's favorites, one he's been looking forward to, and is really gonna be working the core. There's a lot of twisting action involved here, so it's specifically kind of helping with building up a lot of strength. And not only the core, but specifically in this case, is going to be the obliques and the transverse abdominis. So if you've seen a lot of times in the Russian twist, when you're kind of sitting on the floor and you're bringing the weight from side to side, very similar action, but this in this exercise, you're in the standing position. So you're squatting down, picking up the weight, and you can have a straight arm here. We bring it down to one side like this. So now both arms straight, slight bend in the elbow on the opposite arm here, and then you're gonna be bring it to one side and then bring it to the next. So you're completing a 180-degree motion. There we go. Pretty simple. Now, that's our top 5 exercises for the landmine press, but there's a whole of a lot more you can do, and just have fun with it. Play with it. Play with what you want to try to experiment with, what you want to try to do, and key in on any kind of issues that you really want to work on, specifically exercises that are going to help build the muscles you want to build. But, you know, a lot of people are going to say, well, you could just shove the barbell in the corner, which in some cases are true, and that's a good thing about these kind of exercises is that you could. But in the landmine press, it makes it a little bit more versatile because one, it's not going to tear up your house in that sense, and also two, you can kind of take it anywhere you want. Drill some holes in there, you can put it in your yard if you want to, or it just really makes everything a little bit more stable and ready to go. So Duke's going to finish this video up by performing some 180 landmine presses or twists or 180 landmines. And here we go. You ready, Duke?
Never personally done this exercise, so I'm gonna have to listen to the instructions. So I'm holding it here.
So arms straight, press it up, take to one side, like real big base support.
What?
Base support, your feet, real wide. Yep, good. There we go.
And then this way.
Take it out, yep, arms straight, 180 degrees. A little bit straighter in the arms.
Oh yeah. This sucker is a really good exercise.
This is a little bit more of a complex build, a little bit more expert level, a lot of welding, a lot of drilling, a lot of cutting. But, you know, you can always buy one, but the fun part is building it yourself. You know, you kind of, if you have a home gym, you can kind of be proud that you took the time, you took the effort, and you kind of help build something that's really special and that means something to you. And thankfully, I had the privilege of being up here with Duke, my dad, and kind of building it together with him, even though it wasn't much in the video, but I was kind of handling the camera for the most part, but just watching the action and watching it being built like much you guys will be seeing as well, you'll kind of just have that good feeling of watching art being made by Duke.
Gym art.
Yes,
Yep.
that's right. Gym art. That's a new thing. Yeah, absolutely. So I had a lot of fun with this one. Landmines are definitely one of our favorites, kind of tools to have in the gym, and now we actually have our own, built by DIY Duke himself.
Yeah.
He's gonna autograph it, and we're gonna take a bunch of pictures, and hopefully we'll do an actual whole episode on, you know, some of the exercise do. But we just want to kind of give you a really quick example of things you can do if you end up building yourself or if you just have one yourself. Yeah. So thanks for joining us today on this build. Much appreciated. With
Thanks
my
for
dad.
coming out from LA.
Yeah, that's right. Really proud, really happy, and as always, stable. Yeah. It was a trick question. It's yourself.
Oh,
That's
gotcha.
the most important.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Actually, I don't know.
I don't consider myself a tool.
You're a
I
big
do
tool.
have a tool. That buff mom appreciates.
Oh
that.
God. Okay, let's stop.